The handwritten sign plastered to his door was not something he could miss. Rent due on Monday. Don't be fucking late this time. Living with the best mate's sister had been working reasonably well, and to be fair, he felt terrible being behind on rent so often. He still wished Hazel would soon find a less passive-aggressive way of reminding him. If only his parents had bought him his own place after he graduated college, he'd be able to get behaving like an overprivileged asshole. Mike reflected, but before tearing off the sign from the door and entering his bedroom, he flopped down to his bed, exhausted after another morning of fruitless job searching. He knew that he would have to face the facts. Things were getting tough, and he would have to simply accept anything that came along, sooner rather than later. All he had to show was his efforts for today, and that was the interview at the fast food place scheduled for next week. As he got comfortable, he could be heard crunching sound in his pocket. He remembered the flyer he had been given earlier. He took it out and looked at it again. He had been held into this piece of paper by some random guy as he was leaving the subway. He had taken more politeness than anything else, fully attending the throw in the next garbage that he came across. Now actually he was taking the time to read it, and he was glad he hadn't done that. There were scarcely any details, but it was enough interest to pique his interest. Exciting job opportunity for the right candidate. Excellent pay, no experience required. Call this number. Well, I'm at the point where I need to do something to bring money in, so why the hell not? Hopefully this was said loud enough for Hazel to overhear. Anyway, Harm could give it to a number to call, he thought to himself. And so he dialed the number. The person on the other end picked up immediately. Good afternoon, Mr. Featherstone, a female voice, not practically unpleasant to the ear, but not hinting any emotion either. Yes, hello. Hey, wait a minute. How do you know my name? This is Mr. Featherstone, who received the contacts and the details in the tube station earlier today. Is it not? Yes, but we're happy that you have chosen to get back to us so quickly, Mr. Featherstone. We would like to schedule an appointment to discuss the opportunity with you later this afternoon. The location's only about a 10-minute walk from your apartment. Will 14:30 this afternoon be good for you? Now, how does she know where I live, he mused. This was all extremely weird, but with these two words, excellent pay, were enough to motivate him. Sure, yeah, that's fine. Good. Please come to the following address at that time. Mr. Elliott is eager to meet you. One harm could go along, he thought to himself. It was just around the corner after all. What the hell am I doing here? He thought, sitting in the lobby of the old, elegant office building, which indeed only a few minutes away from where he lived. The man at the front desk had ignored him. Apart from pointing in the direction of the bench he was now sitting on, the building was in no descript that he could honestly say he'd ever even acknowledge his existence. Despite having walked past hundreds of times in the past couple of years, however, he did not have much time to ponder this, as he was soon greeted by the imposing figure of the gentleman who had requested his presence. Mr. Featherstone, so nice for you to come at such short notice. Please call me Mike. No, I shall stick to Mr. Featherstone. Mine is a business that requires formality. I'm sure you'll come to understand this soon enough. This was a man not to be messed with, what much like Mike could tell. Now do follow me to my office. Again, this was not a negotiable. Mr. Elliott was already halfway there. He broke to a light jog, not wanting to seem rude and lagging behind. Now take a seat, Mr. Featherstone. Thanks, Mike said, withdrawing his copy of his resume from the bag in prescription preparation before coming to the interview. Perhaps I can give you this. That won't be necessary, Mr. Featherstone. We are already familiar with you as a candidate. We don't want to make offers such as this to random strangers. Well, okay then, thank you for... Mike was once again cut off. This is not an interview that is a conventional sense. I will explain our requirements. I will discuss the financial compensation. Then you should be given the time to consider this information before coming to a decision. Mr. Elliot looked directly into Mike's eyes, pausing his little speech. Okay, Elliot. Mike was a complete loss of what to do or say at this point. Good. Now here's my offer to you. Hazel, are you in there? Mike asked, knocking on her bedroom door. A few seconds later, she groggily opened the door. Mike, you know I work nights. Is it important? Damn, he had forgotten about her shift at work. Sorry, Hazel. I just wanted to pay up what I owe you. Here you go. He handed over an envelope stashed with his for once not overdue rent. Bloody hell, Mike, in cash? Did you rob a bank or something? He couldn't help but quite smile. Not quite. Look, something came up and they paid me in advance for my first gig. So here you go. I don't think I want to ask any more questions, do I? Maybe not. Mike couldn't help but feel a little sheepish. Handing over a sizable wad of cash must have looked a little odd, he had to admit. Don't worry, though. It's legit. Hazel gave a slight smile in response. For the first time she had done that to him in a long while. Thanks, Mike. Oh, and sorry about the note earlier. You know how I can get sometimes. Think nothing of it. She whined her little smile and then closed the door. Things were looking up already. All he had to do now was wait for the call. 2 days, Elliot had said. Friday was the evening before midnight, and the address was given. It all sounded simple enough. Mike would be working as a personal assistant to an exceptional client of Mr. Elliot's, and would be there for a short period of time to help him out, whatever it was necessary. That would be a one-off occasion, which he would not see that particular client again, unless requested to do so. As a gesture of goodwill, Mike had been paid in advance for his first assignment. He hadn't been kidding around when he said the pay was good, if it went well. Mike was at the very least of his financial trouble for a while. Of course, the goodwill gesture did come with the caveat. Even if Mike decided to quit after the first assignment, he would have to go through this one job, whatever it entailed. Now time to wait and see what the adventure brings on Friday night. Where was this place? It wasn't that the address had been hard to find. It was just he couldn't imagine everyone wanting him to be there, let alone an exclusive client of Mr. Elliot. This was a smack in the middle of the city's most dissipated industrial estate. He had gotten an Uber as close as possible, but even the driver couldn't bring him all the way to the door. He had to walk at least a half mile or so, and he was in real danger of being late. What's going on here? Mike approached the door, feeling a more mild trepidation. Before he had the chance to knock, the door was open, and a giant man stepped out to greet him. Hi, I'm... Once again, Mike didn't get the chance to finish his sentence. First the door on the left. Get change and await instructions. And be quick about it. The security guard bundled him inside and slammed the door behind him. Mike found the room and he entered. Whatever might have been expected to see, it certainly wasn't this a full hazmat suit. This thing was a real deal, too. He was starting to get more of the idea as to why he had been so paid handsomely. No job requiring him to wear this in the world would be easy or pleasant. I'd make sure you put the best on that properly, Mr. Featherstone. Mike recognized the voice. It was starting to understand as to why he was not likely to forget. Mr. Elliot, what the hell is going on here? As I stated, a significant client of mine in need of your assistance. He can be found on the 3rd floor. Your assignment is to merely perform what I refer to as post-task completion. What? If his intention was to confuse Mike, it certainly was working. Think of it this way. If someone were cooking a meal, and the meal itself would be the fruitful of this task, sitting down on the loved one, cutting that to the steak, and enjoying the nice glass of red wine, what is the whole experience about it? Of course, no one wants to think about washing the dishes afterwards. Nonetheless, the dishes need to be cleaned. That is what I mean by post-task completion. So I'm here to clean up afterwards? Yes, Mr. Featherstone. Indeed you are. The creepiest smile Mike had ever seen emerged on Elliot's expression. Now this is your first assignment. I'll be accompanying you to make sure all goes smoothly. Mike had a feeling he wasn't going to be washing dishes. He followed Elliot to the elevator and pressed free, and they began to the ascension. Mr. Elliot exited and made his way to the door, straight down to the right. As previously, Mike had found himself half-jogged to catch up. He stopped at the door, turning to Mike with a look as if death was on his face. "It's time to honor our agreement, Michael." There was something about Mr. Elliot's use of Mike's first name that utterly terrified him. He then proceeded to open the door. "So, hi Mike, how was your first day?" Hazel had overly comfortable habit of walking around the apartment, scantily dressed, and to the extent that Mike had to more often than mentally remind himself that this was his best mate's sister. Not tonight, though. His mind was elsewhere. Rough shift. Don't really want to talk about it." "I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it gets easier from now on." "Thanks. Actually, I might just go to that interview on Monday night. Might be a good way up on my options." "Whatever works for you, Mike." She gave him a quick peck on the cheek. "Just a reminder that rent's due again next month, alright?" He was scarcely listening, though. Describing it as a first rough shift didn't go what he had seen and had done any kind of justice at all. He didn't even know what he had been expecting to see Elliot open the door. It had turned out to be a scene that was now buried in his psyche forever. "This will be a pretty tough cleanup, so much as your time as you need, just to make sure you do your job properly." And at the end, Elliot had turned and left. The room was poorly lit, so it was hard to make out of the coppery brown mess that coated the walls. He had followed Elliot's advice and put the suit on properly, meaning he was also using his breathing apparatus. He had not done so. He would have to be by now recognized the stench of fresh blood. His eyes met a figure, dressed in what appeared to be in a full butcher's garb. He slowly and precisely removing what he clearly saw was the remaining chunks of flesh from the corpse in front of him. Its arms and legs were strewn across the floor, and the head had been removed and tossed to the side. The butcher turned to face Mike. "I guess my accountant here had ripped me off for the first time," he said with a sadistic chuckle. Fair, only fair. I got to rip him apart, don't you think?" "Indeed it is, my good friend." Mike turned around to see that Mr. Elliot reappeared in the doorway. "Let me introduce you to our new junior associate, Mr. Featherstone. He'll be performing cleanup duties this evening." "Good luck with that, kid," the butcherman slowly exhaled, stepping back from the remains of the corpse and started to make his way out of the room. "Make sure you do the job right. I don't want to see a single trace of this piece of shit remaining when you're done." "That is our guarantee as always." Mr. Elliot then stepped aside to allow this murdering psychopath exit the room, leaving Mike to survey the whole devastating scene. "Make sure you get this space spotless. Take as much time as you need," Elliot said, now directly facing Mike. "But I want this place clean, so you'll be able to eat your next meal off the floor in there. I'll be back in a couple of hours to see how you're getting on." He then pointed at the mop and bucket in the corner, as well as a bunch of cleaning supplies. He then ignited the incinerator, randomly picking up a limb and tossing it in there, before once again leaving the room. "Okay then, Michael. Well, as I'm sure you can imagine, times are tough for all major multinational corporations, and the same goes for fast food industry. We'd love to have you on board, but we have to start you on a 0 hours contract. Minimum wage to start, of course, but I'm pretty sure you'd be guaranteed at least 8 to 12 hours of work every week. Maybe even more. After 2 or 3 years, you'll almost certainly be in a line for a full-time position. So what do you say? Excited to join the banded burger team?" "Who wouldn't be?" was all Mike could say in response. "Great. Then we'll see you first thing tomorrow morning so you could pick up your new work clothes. Sorry to say that you'll be expected to buy them for the company, but you should earn enough for the week to cover the costs." Mike had offered the weakest smiles in response. The following day, Mike had reassigned his fate, knocked on the office door. "Ah, there you are. So lovely to see you again. Mike had to chuckle at the obscurity of the situation. "Yes, glad to be back." raring to go, I assume? Mike hesitantly replied with a question. Can I be honest with you? Why, of course. I'm just really happy to have the job. Absolutely. No harm in that at all. We're glad to have you on board and fully committed. So, Mr. Featherstone, let's get you fitted up in bespoke hazmat suit, shall we? What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video. And I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.